Today, we're going to look at the question that separates someone who creates a perennial seller, that is a product, a business, an app, a song, a movie, a book, an education course, whatever, any creation. The thing that separates someone who creates something that sells year after year after year and something that sells maybe for a year and then it dies or doesn't sell at all. My name is Kirk K. Barbera, and this is your business book tip of the day. So the question that nobody asks, or almost nobody asks, when they're creating a product is, who is this for? Okay, that's it. Goodbye. Have a great day. My name is Kirk K. Okay, we'll go into it a little bit more. But I am confronted with this all the time as somebody who does ghostwriting and works in a media company and works with people on their products and their services and whatever it is that they're creating. The thing that is the most difficult for me to help them understand, my clients, is the importance of asking and answering in the clearest possible way the question, who is this for? So let me give you an example of a bad answer to this. Who is this for? This is for people who want to make more money. That's a horrible answer. If you have any semblance of that vagary in your answer, is I want to reach people who've lost, or are trying to make more money, or they want to be an investor, or they want to do this. That's too vague. The more specific, the better. So, for instance, Tim Ferriss did dozens of tests of his product or his book before he launched it, the 4-Hour Workweek. And it was labeled the 4-Hour Workweek for a reason, because all the tests he did, that was the one that he got the most response from. And he built very specific audience. He knew that he wanted to reach 30 to 37, I don't remember the exact things, but 30 to 37-year-olds who worked at a certain type of corporation and a certain type of 9-to-5 job, like a law firm, for instance. So he reached out to people who worked at law firms, made over $100,000, and they hated their jobs. And he built this very specific amount of information about John. He had a person in his mind. This is why it was so good, because when he was writing it, he was thinking, I want my friend John, who's 32 years old, who hates his job, who makes $150,000 and wants a way out. That's what the 4-Hour Workweek, it appealed to that person, John. I'm just making that name up right now. But the point is, that book, The 4-Hour Workweek, sells millions of copies. It's still a huge bestseller. It has been for like 15 years or 10, 12 years, whatever it is. And there's a reason for that. He had a very specific human in mind. Not, I want to reach people who work at corporations. That's too broad. It has to, the more narrow, the better. So when you're asking the question, who is this for, be more narrow. Another way to think about this, or another example of this could be, let's say you wanted to help people make more money. Let's say you wanted to help them become wealthy, or an investor or something of that nature. Instead of saying, I want to, who is this education course, this book, this blog, this podcast, this video that I'm creating, whatever you're creating for people, if you want to reach them, the thing you want to ask about who is this for, and making it as specific as possible, is don't just say something like, I want it for people who want to make more money or want to retire at 50, because everyone would love the idea of being able to retire at 50, right? It's too vague, or it's too broad, too vague, it doesn't make sense. So the way you could think about it is to narrow your view of who you're going to reach, narrow your lane, essentially, is you could say, I want to reach, who is this for? People who are 35 years old and just lost their job. That is a specific niche you could try to reach. And the reason it makes it perennial, and by the way, that's not the ideal situation. I'm just making something specific so you can see it. But the point is, the reason that is a better one is because that is a perennial situation. So another way of phrasing that same question, who is this for? You could say, this is for people who were making $80,000 or more a year at a job and they just lost their job. Now, why is that perennial? Because the just lost the job is something that is going to continually happen every year. Every year there's going to be a new batch of people that just lost their job and were making $80,000. So if you look at it in those kind of terms, who just lost their job, and they were making $80,000 before this, I'm creating an education course to help them get financial freedom despite that. Now, here's the key formula. Here's the key to all of this. You can not do this after your product is done. It's too late. If your product is created, it's too late. You have to create some new products to maybe lead them to your old product or something, or just throw out your old product. Sorry, it's the way it is. You have to ask the question, who is this for, before you start creating your product, before you start creating that video service or that video program, before you start doing that podcast, before you start doing webinars, before you start writing blogs, writing books, whatever it is. You need to ask, who is it for? Because if you're writing or trying to talk to Mary, who's 37 years old, she was making $97,000 at a major corporation in Houston, and you want to reach Mary, you have to think that if I'm going to talk to Mary, who just lost her job, and I'm going to try to show her how to get financial freedom without going back into the workforce, that is a very specific thing. You'd say, hey Mary, I know you just lost your job, blah, blah, blah. I want to talk to you about a way that with $50 in your pocket and 12 hours out of the week, you could start making $200 next week and $500 in 2 weeks. And by the time 8 months goes by, you're going to be making $85,000, $95,000 again on your terms. Do you see how that's, I'm just making this up as I go, but do you see how that's more specific than, hey, you want to make more money? I got you covered. It's not, the reason those types of things don't work is because it's too vague, too broad. So the more specific you can be, Mary, 37 years old, just lost her job. She was making $80,000 plus a year at a corporation. Now I have a financial education product for you, okay? So that is the difference between someone who creates a perennial seller, something that sells year after year after year, and someone who creates something that either sells for a year or two and fizzles, or someone who doesn't sell anything at all. My name is Kirk K. Barbera. That was your business book tip of the day. And remember that reading is not a passive sport, guys. Reading is a contact sport. So go out there and start making contact with great books.